Thanks everybody for attending this afternoon. I am Alderwoman Pam Boyd. I'm Chair of Ways and Means. I'd like to call the Ways and Means Committee meeting to order. And I'm sorry, my mind is moving. Ms. Clerk, could you call the roll call?
Alderwoman Davis.
Present.
Alderman Vaquero.
Present.
Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Odenberg.
Present.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Present.
Alderwoman Evans.
Present.
Chair Boyd.
Present.
Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Spencer. We have 6 present. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Clerk. I'd like to ask for approval of the minutes for October the 13th.
So moved.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Alderwoman Davis. Alderman Vaquero.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Odenberg.
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans.
Aye.
Chair Boyd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman
Aye.
Spencer. Oh, okay, I got you.
Okay, thank you.
We have 6 aye votes.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I would have a public comment. The committee will review item number 1, Board Bill 95. Could you read the board bill, please?
An ordinance approving a petition to establish the Lighthouse St. Louis Community Improvement District, establishing the Lighthouse St. Louis Community Improvement District as a political subdivision of the state of Missouri, approving appointment of the initial board of directors and containing a servability clause, a servability and emergency clause.
Thank you. At this time, we'll take public comment. Ms. Clerk, could you swear in the guest speakers, please, for public comment?
Yes, I have Ed Tinsley, okay. Ford Martin, okay. Daniel Cook, Dave Sweeney, Mark Spikerman, Tim Green. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. I do.
I got 2. Okay, I got 3 I do's.
Okay, thank you. Could Alderwoman Middlebrook, I'm sorry. Could Alderwoman Middlebrook please present her bill?
Excuse me.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Board Bill 95 is a SID. This board bill seeks to establish the Lighthouse St. Louis Community Improvement District in order to construct, install, equip, and maintain various improvements within the proposed district. It will impose a sales tax, impose a special assessment, and carry out other functions authorized that are authorized. The proposed district is generally bounded by St. Louis County to the north, Riverview Drive to the west, Interstate 270 to the south, and the Mississippi River to the east. And just in case you have not heard or don't know what the Lighthouse Project is, I will give you a quick summary. This project is to establish an entertainment district. This entertainment district will have a hotel that will have condos, a water park, which will be used year round because it will have a retractable roof. It will have restaurants, just a full out entertainment district. So that is all that I have, and I will turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Now, we do have public. We have public comment. And so I just see one. Do you see anybody else?
I have David Stokes, Michael Berg, and Jerry Conley.
Okay. Could you swear those people in, please? David Stokes.
Jerry Conley, David Stokes. Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
I only see one so far.
Yeah, I only see this.
Okay.
I think the other two are in the participant category.
But one just came
Right.
over.
Or
Do you see them?
No,
Michael
they're here
Berg?
now.
Yeah.
Michael just came over,
Yes.
so you want to swear him in?
And David Stokes.
You're on mute. Tracy.
I'm sorry, thank you. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
David Stokes, do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I can't hear you, I'm sorry. Something's wrong with
David,
your
your mic mustn't be working. You can't hear
He
you.
said I do. He put it in the chat.
Okay.
Something must be going on with his audio. Okay. All right. So now we need to have public discussion in regards to Board Bill 95. Who do we have first?
We have Jerry Conley.
Okay, Mr. Conley.
Okay, I'm not used to doing this on my phone. So, Madam Chair, members of the committee, I'm not quite sure where to start here. I guess we're on our third different committee meeting on legislation pertaining to the Lighthouse Point / Landing / Marina project. I would much prefer, as all the people discussed at this morning's HUD's committee, if all these bills had come to one committee, because I feel that both the public and the elected officials are at a disadvantage. I realize there are some members of this committee who are not on HUD's or transportation, so they haven't had the benefit of a detailed presentation from the development team. And also, you know, basically Transportation Committee were the only ones who had questions addressed by the St. Louis Development Corporation that oversees the tax incentives. And this SID is, you know, it isn't part of the incentive package because the money from it goes towards infrastructure, and it also generates revenue for the developer that I imagine can be used for things other than just the infrastructure on the project. So when SLDC talked on Tuesday, they, you know, basically answered a few short questions, gave the results of a scorecard, and didn't address questions that both myself and other people testifying raised. So I kind of feel like the public here kind of make their statement, ask questions, and committees generally kind of nod and move on, sometimes with only addressing a couple of those questions. So my first comment really is this: the city collectively has not followed the recommendations that State Auditor Nicole Galloway made in her 2019 audit of taxing districts, and it was focused on SLDC's role. And one of the things they pointed out was that there wasn't sufficient financial scrutiny given to when a developer is seeking incentives and a tax district. and there wasn't a comprehensive analysis that included the taxing district aspect. And best I can tell, in the intervening 3 years, there's been no change in how these site-specific projects are analyzed. And they're basically established where the developer controls the revenue, the allocation of that revenue. So I'm very interested in hearing who exactly, I see the names on the bill as to who will serve on the initial board. I don't know the affiliations of most of those people. So I think we'd all be well served to know who they are affiliated with. I don't think there is a representative of any city agency, whether it's the Comptroller's Office or SLDC. If you do go ahead and approve this, I think you should amend it to include a city official on that list. And also the attorney, I believe he's present today, Daniel Cook from the development team. He wasn't able to provide a complete list of who's serving on the TDD board, which apparently has been in place since February of 2018. I believe some of those people are part of the existing ownership group of the property, which has yet to be transferred to the new group. So I think we need to, for full transparency's sake, understand who those folks are and their affiliations. The question I raised at this morning's meeting and on Tuesday, which hasn't been answered, is there's a lot in the southwest corner of this development that has a gas station on it that was constructed and I believe opened sometime last year. And according to this morning, the TDD has imposed a 1% sales tax. So my question is that gas station within the footprint of the SID? Is it within the footprint of the TDD? Is it collecting sales tax on products that are sold at the gas station? So I think we would all be well served to know the answer to that question. I think I'll leave some of the environmental aspects to be addressed by other people who are testifying, but I feel like the incentive packages are tied intrinsically with the environmental issues as to the wisdom or not of putting a marina into a portion of the Mississippi River that is not like a still pond, which the developer seems to believe or want us to believe. It is downstream of the lock and dam. It is upstream from the chain of rocks, and the water intakes, the main city water supply, are located between the proposed marina and the rocks themselves. I talked to a friend who's a boater, and he just said, I wouldn't feel safe. He's an experienced boater. He wouldn't feel safe operating a boat in this vicinity. And he uses other marinas in the St. Louis area that are much safer than this location. So I think we're just kind of rushing through here without due diligence. SLDC wasn't present at this morning's meeting. When an alderperson, Alderman Coda, asked what their position was on the project, the answer was given by Mr. David Sweeney, who I believe is present today. He represents a client who's, I think, part of this development group or part of the current owner. And he was a person who spoke for SLDC. And I find that, his role was disclosed on Tuesday. It wasn't disclosed this morning in terms of the fact that he's a lobbyist. But I find the fact that, he was the one speaking for the St. Louis Development Corporation was, frankly absurd. So that's all I have. Thank you, Madam Chair, committee members. I urge you to, at a minimum, table this legislation until there's the appropriate due diligence done on the project and a city official added to the board. But today I really would like to hear from the development team as to the affiliations of the initial 6 appointees to the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Connolly. I appreciate you. Mr. Stokes, do you think you can speak because he did send something, but I don't know if we can hear him. He's talking, his mouth's moving, but you can't hear anything.
Is my microphone working now? Can you hear me?
Now it's working. Yes, sir. Yes,
Thank you very much. And I apologize for the technical trouble there. Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving me a moment there to fix that. I promise to be very brief. As the chair stated, I've submitted my testimony to the committee in writing. It's not my intention to repeat everything that I've submitted in writing, but just to highlight a few points about the extensive use of SIDS and their close cousin TDDs in St. Louis. This is a subject that the state auditors in Missouri have done amazing work on over the past 20 years. Auditors of both parties multiple auditors have consistently highlighted the troubles and abuses of community improvement districts and other types of tax subsidies around the state, not just in the city of St. Louis, but around the state, and found just consistently, whenever they investigate SIDS and others, they find that they're not properly going through bidding processes with public money. The annual financial reporting on the districts is terrible. There's very little transparency in their creation and management. There's been examples of them improperly collecting tax money from businesses not within their districts. All these have been cited by all of our auditors over the past 20 years. And we have hundreds of these such districts in the city of St. Louis. And I just think it's a continued process of highly troubling to keep passing these special sales taxes to fund essentially private developments. It's just classic corporate welfare. And I think we have far too much of it in the city of St. Louis and in the rest of the state as well. And finally, the final comment is, this floodplain development is not something we should be celebrating. And I'm aware that this is no longer technically in the floodplain. They took all the dirt from the Musial Bridge Veterans Project and they got paid to raise the land out of the floodplain with that dirt. But it's 75 acres approximately that doesn't take water now, which means 75 acres of people and residents in that area are now taking the water when the inevitable flood comes. And I've worked in the past on floodplain policy quite extensively, and it's very concerning and not something that we should be doing more of. Floodplain development is something we should be doing less of, and at a minimum, we should be ending the subsidies for floodplain development type projects. And if it's going to be done, make sure the developers are paying for it all on their own. And with that, I thank you for the opportunity to speak, Madam Chair. Again, the testimony has been submitted to all, and I thank you all for your time today.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so do we have, I didn't see any more speakers, Ms. Clerk. Was there anybody else?
Yes, we have one more, which was Michael Berg.
Okay, because I didn't have him on my list. That's why I asked. And I knew he was here before. We have to quit meeting like this, Michael. You was at the other meeting, right?
And the one before. Thank you.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the chance to speak before the Ways and Means Committee. For people who've been on the previous committees, the testimony will be very similar, but there's some different people. I'm representing the Sierra Club Eastern Missouri group. We have 730 members in the city of St. Louis, and we oppose Board Bill 95. And before I begin, want to mention that the Missouri Confluence waterkeeper, Charles Miller, had some excellent testimony in the Transportation Committee on Tuesday that is applicable still to this. So since there's been 3 hearings, the main points we want to get out is this is in a floodplain, even though it, as David Stokes pointed out, it's not technically a floodplain anymore. It's still at major risk of flooding and of being flooded around and isolating the area. And we agree with what Mr. Stokes said, that we're not happy with the raising and the destroying of what was an actual floodplain before. It is just below, just south of the only confluence of the 2 largest rivers in North America. And we should be extra careful what we're doing, developing right next to this just gem of our region, and the only one like it. The golf course, which once occupied some of the site, was severely damaged in the 1993 flood. And after that flood, the U.S. Army Corps sponsored a major interagency flood study of the area entitled Sharing the Challenge Floodplain Management in the 21st Century, published in 1994. That study is still widely held as a comprehensive look at Mississippi River flooding, with the St. Louis area at the center. And unfortunately, most of the recommendations from the study have not been implemented. And since 1993, flood risks have extremely risen, much more so, both due to unwise development and climate change with more severe weather events, including floods. And so there's still the risk of flooding, and we should not be using taxpayer funds to develop an area. It's short-sighted. If you look at the repeated costs in the Maryland Heights development behind the Howard Bend levee on the Missouri River, that's a very good regional example of just the phenomenon, just this phenomenon of just incurring more and more costs to try to keep the river at bay for a developed area. We're also, as mentioned in the previous series, hearing very skeptical of the part of the projects that's a marine and a landing. I share the view of previous speakers that it's not exactly conducive to great boating environment due to the bridge, the bend, the channel, the rocks. There's a worry that it could affect the water intake just down the river. There's a reason that the barges use the other side of the river. And so that's why we don't think there should be any tax district, any subsidies of any type to encourage and facilitate this unwise project.
I'm sorry, was that all, Mr. Byrd?
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
I guess I should say that's all.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Byrd. Did we have anybody else?
There are no more public speakers.
Okay. And so now we'll have the guests from the development. So who will go first?
I've got Ford Martin.
Chairwoman Boyd, this is Daniel Cook with Cook and Riley. I will be happy to kick things off. Good afternoon, alderwomen and aldermen. Some of you have seen this presentation before, so we'll try to streamline it a bit. I've got with me today Ford Martin from M2 Development Partners. They are the ones that are going to be spearheading this development on this property, which is basically located at Riverview Drive and I-270, just a little bit north of there in North City. This is a multi-phased project with the first two phases consisting of 2 hotels, a indoor water park with a retractable roof that'll have roughly 300 hotel rooms associated with it, and a smaller hotel associated with the marina and riverfront boardwalk and walkway that's part of the proposed development. And that's the part of the development that's been scored by SLDC up until this point. And that was scored at 5.0 out of 5 for, I believe, the water park, and 4.75 out of 5 for the marina portion of the development. And that was testified to, I believe, at the Transportation and Commerce Committee by representatives of SLDC. The person that did the analysis, who I believe was Jake Narup of the SLDC staff. This SID, as someone mentioned before, is not going to cause the city to give up any revenues, if you will. I mean, the taxes that are proposed are an additional sales tax and an additional special assessment. So there is nothing that the city will forego. These are just additional taxes on either the property owners or on sales taxable transactions that occur within the boundaries of the district itself. And then also, as was alluded to, this SID is primarily going to be for infrastructure costs and also for what we would call safe and clean. So there wasn't a whole lot of infrastructure on this site when this project began, and some of it had to be run in from up to a couple of miles away. You know, they had to work with MSD had to put it, for example, a new pumping station in. They had to run new storm and sanitary sewers. They had to run water lines to work for the fire department and for what will eventually be used by the business. Laclede Gas had to run lines from about 1.5 miles away. I guess the golf course was probably there before fiber was generally the way that AT&T went, so there had to be fiber brought up to the site. Elevation of the site that's been talked about out of the floodplain. So a lot of site prep and grading, and then also surface parking and potentially parking structures, things like that. That's not an exhaustive list, but those are the kinds of expenses that the developers had to incur up to this point, and will be seeking reimbursement and among other things that are allowed under the SID Act. And then the safe and clean portion would be to pay for security measures and to keep people and property safe once the development is up and running. And then the clean portion kind of speaks for itself, making sure that the development stays in tip-top shape and presentable to both residents and to visitors from out of town. I think somebody brought up the gas station, just for a point of clarity, the gas station is not within the boundaries of the CID. We will also be the attorneys that are representing the CID on a going forwards basis. So we would be responsible for handling the filings with the city, the filings with the Missouri Ethics Commission, the filings with the state auditor's office, the filings with the Department of Revenue, the filings with all the other agencies, including the city, the annual report that are required under the SID Act. We'd be working with the collector's office and the assessor's office with regard to administration of these special assessments. We'd be working with the Missouri Department of Revenue local government unit with regard to the sales taxes, both as going into the property or into the coffers and then being distributed back out from the Department of Revenue to the CID. As far as the board members, I think those are mentioned in the board bill itself. And just so you all know, one of those individuals is a resident of Ward 2, and another is a city resident that lives nearby. And again, those two individuals have no affiliation with the project, financial interest in the project, or any degree of relationship with the owners of either the developer itself or any of the businesses that we're aware of that would be coming into this development as it's presently planned. So the SID sales tax would be a 1% up to 1% sales tax. And then the special assessment, depending on what type of business you're operating, could vary a little bit. I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ford Martin and let him talk a little bit about the development itself. Ford?
Okay, hold on 1 minute, Ford, because I jumped ahead of myself as usual. I am now closing public speaking comments. And so now we can go back to Ford. I apologize.
No worries at all. Thank you so much for your time. My name's Ford Martin. I'm with M2 Development. It's good to see those of you who we've seen already this morning and in our meeting on Tuesday. I believe most of you have already seen this presentation, so I promise to keep it brief. And for those of you who have not, please don't hesitate to stop me with any questions. So as has been mentioned, Lighthouse Point is a 67-acre waterfront site on the Mississippi, located within an opportunity zone and also a themed destination development. This slide gives you a little bit better vantage point as to where the site is on the Mississippi. Just north of the site will be the St. Louis Zoo Wild Care Park, but the site itself sits just north of the Chain of Rocks Bridge. This is a site aerial from just above the Chain of Rocks Bridge facing north. This is, as you can see, we have upwards of 1,500 linear feet of Mississippi River waterfront at this location, which we believe makes it a prime location for this entertainment district. This is a high-level rendering of what we believe could be the best use of the land at Lighthouse Point, encapsulating what we could bring to the north side: tourism, hospitality, retail, and the potential of this site to be a landmark destination for the city of St. Louis. And the next slide just breaks this same rendering into the three plus phases that we believe we would attack. Phases 1 and 2 would be done at the same time. It gives you an idea this slide gives you an idea of the order of operations where work would be performed. And while we were working on phases 1 and 2, we would get an idea of what the market would be for phases 3 and 4, some additional hospitality and retail. So that gives you an idea of how the order of operations of the work would proceed on this project. And I'll just go back to this slide for a moment. Again, I think some people this morning were hoping to look at this for a little bit longer. Again, this is a high-level rendering, but we're very excited about all the potential on this site and for the city of St. Louis. And that was it. I promised to keep it short, but if anybody would like the full PowerPoint that we presented on Tuesday, please let me know.
And so could you please send that to the clerk?
Yes.
Thank you. So we can make sure that everybody can get a copy of it.
No problem.
Thank you. So do we have any other speakers that wanted to speak on it? I did receive a email from SLDC in regards to this project, and they did say that they were in support of this project. So just for FYI, because people keep asking.
And I neglected to mention one other person that was here, Mr. Tim Green, and that's on me. So I believe he is wanting to speak on this board bill.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Green.
Thank you. My name's Tim Green. I'm the Director of Government Relations for IBEW Local 1 in the St. Louis chapter of the electrical contractors. The reason I was brought in—
Point of order.
Yes, ma'am. Point of order.
Madam Clerk, please swear him in.
Thank
I
you.
was sworn in. You swore me in.
I didn't hear it earlier.
Okay.
Mr. Green, do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Once again, the reason I was brought forth is I do sit on our pension fund, which is individual annuities of all our 4,000 working members of Local 1, and then our 3,000 retirees. We have investment firms that reach out to us. One of these investment firms does work with MT Development throughout the country, and they solicit involvement from IBEW NECA pension funds. One of the things we require that when we do invest is that these projects are in our region, that the workers benefit from the investments we're using for these projects. MT Development reached out, and we have interest in putting up some financing for that. So that is the reason I have been approached and is speaking on behalf of it. On a personal note, I grew up about a half a mile from this facility. As a young person, I golfed on the golf course and I swam in the swimming pool. And I was also an elected official, both a state rep and state senator of this area for 22 years. And for many years, we tried to find development after the 1993 flooded the course and closed the course down. Of course, when gambling was legalized, this was one of the sites that was being proposed. But with only so many slots, the city of St. Louis's slot was geared towards the downtown region. And then there was a South County in St. Louis County. So this area was not in the so-called protocol list of selections. I do want to thank that back in the late 90s, Motomart wanted to build a truck stop on this facility. And it was with P&Z and the Board of Aldermen at that time that we were successful in stopping that development. We didn't want this area coming into Missouri to be a kingdom city. The truck stops are the next exit up on Lilac in St. Louis County, but we wanted to keep it with all the bike paths and with conservation north where the confluence is, somewhat a great area. This proposal, when they brought it forth to me, it reminded me of my time of serving as a public servant, of what a great opportunity coming across the Chain of Rocks Bridge into Missouri and into St. Louis City and North St. Louis County. What a welcoming view it is to have something like this. The Sierra Club did mention in their testimony of having marinas on the Mississippi. If you take Highway 367, go across the Missouri River, and then go into Alton across the Mississippi River, you will see a marina on the Mississippi River. You will see boats there and people taking the boats out on the weekend.
Yeah.
And it was mentioned also that that's why the Chain of Rocks has been there, and that's why it's called the Chain of Rocks. So the canal was built years ago, so people could take boats up to the canal and then go south and take boat rides down to the downtown area. I think it would be a great opportunity for the city of St. Louis, Missouri, and North St. Louis County, because there is a restaurant desert in North St. Louis County, as well in North City in this area. And this would provide opportunities for the residents of places to go. And there was one mentioned earlier question about green energy and doing things green. The IBEW installs these solar panels, and we just did a $10 million investment in our Union Hall in South St. Louis, renovating, and we do have the solar panels. So with NECA and the IBEW making an investment, I can guarantee that promoting our industry on this facility would be a top priority as well. I think I've touched all the bases. I just think it'd be a win-win for the region as a former public servant. And I don't mention being a public servant because I truly enjoy being a has-been, but this would really be great for North City and North County. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. So was it anyone else that was going to speak on it? Okay. At this time, I'll let the committee, if they have any questions. Ms. Clerk, could you call the committee members?
Yes, ma'am. Alderwoman Davis.
Thank you. I don't necessarily have any questions. I'll just make a brief comment. This is my third hearing that I've participated in on this project. But above and beyond that, I've been involved in some level of understanding and or championing for over 8 years now. But the possibility of this has been discussed and contemplated much longer than that. All of our concerns that we could possibly have, we should leave to all the regulatory agencies that have extremely qualified professionals who do this job every day. And their job is to make sure that this is an adequate project, that people will be safe, that the services that are attached to this project will be provided appropriately so. I have no fear whatsoever of having this continue with the due diligence that will take place. We have a long way to go. This is not going to happen tomorrow. So if we can put all the pre-development items in place today so that there will be a dual process going on, which is securing financing and additional support and doing the due diligence of the balance of the pre-development things that must be addressed before you get into final design and preparation for construction. So the process needs to take place. This is exciting. It is going to be fabulous. And all it can do is take us to more development in that area. I'm thinking about housing. I'm definitely thinking about a solar farm. So that is a big plus. And I'm sure that the residents in that area probably can't even believe that we're talking about a 300 million plus project. So I just thank you for the presentation. I thank you for the interest. And I hope that as we move forward, we will continue to get reports as they are, and I don't mean actual full reports, because even if we got them, we wouldn't understand them. But updates as where you are is what I'd like to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Davis. Alderman Vakari.
Yeah, so no, I don't have a whole lot. Just, it seems that, you know, every time we come across anything in North St. Louis, whether it was NGA, the football stadium, and now this, there seems to be a lot of opposition to developing North St. Louis. And I can tell you, I very seldom am in North St. Louis. I trust the older people that represent that area that tell me they want development. And it just, again, I remember all these arguments on the football stadium, and it was going to be the end of life as we know it, and, you know. And then, of course, NGA was another one that seemed to be a big argument. I can go down the list of the developments that we've looked, you know, in North, and I can tell you, you don't see any real tiffs or anything going on South, because I don't think that it's the appropriate area. But this is what all these incentives were meant to try is to develop an area. You know, as far as the Sierra Club, you know, I mean, we supported you. I was on with the bill. It actually went through my committee that, you know, we're trying to make the environment certainly a better place. The levee's already been raised. You know, I think the fight should have been maybe back then, but it's already out of the floodplain. So I don't know. I don't see any real problem with that. It seems to me that the incentives are certainly meant for that kind of area. As far as the boating, you know, I can't really tell you. I can tell you that if you feel unsafe doing it, I won't jump off, I won't bungee cord off a bridge, even though they say it's okay to do it. You know, I don't skydive, even though they say it's okay to do that too. I would say if I was a boater, and I'm not, and I felt that wasn't a good area, I just wouldn't put my boat in there. You know, so it just seems to me that, you know, I'm gonna stick with a lot of the folks that actually represent that area and support this, only because I believe they know what's best for their area, and that this is what this stuff was meant to do. And if we can get more people to develop that area north, I think it's a good thing for the city. I think that, you know, I sat in the meeting, and, you know, I'm transportation. And they talked about the job creations and the jobs that people could actually basically walk to or take a bus to. You know, I mean, there's a lot of good that could come out of this. So I just wanted to explain where I stand on this and why, why I come to what, I feel is, my vote, which is I would also agree with Alderwoman Davis. This is only the scratch surface. It's still got to go through transportation. It's still got to go through all the different things that happen that are way beyond me anyway. And this could be years in the making, but anyway, just want to explain where I stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Corey.
She keep calling him Corey.
You talking, Tracy? I can't hear you.
Okay, we have next Alderman Odenberg.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. First and foremost, I want to thank the sponsorship and the development team for engaging in this potential opportunity. I think it's important for the city of St. Louis to entertain and to welcome developers, risk takers, job creators who are willing to take on a project of this magnitude. So first and foremost, thank you very much for sizing up this opportunity in an area that I think we all can agree could use some economic stimulus as well as improvement of real estate. So thank you. I do want to talk, it feels like, just so I have a holistic approach, and this will be a question, sorry, it might be a bit of a long wind up, but there is a SID as part of the incentive package in front of this committee. There's also a TDD, and then there is a tax abatement resolution. Is that what people have been referring to as the incentive package?
Yes.
It is, okay. That's what I thought. Okay, thank you, Alderman. And this is really, the city and SLDC are partners here in the first step for developers in trying to give a proof of concept or a feasibility to their sources and uses. So I know that some of my colleagues, perhaps in the Transportation Committee, are already trying to underwrite the environmental impacts and issues of this project. And I do believe that will come in due course because there are a myriad of federal agencies that will require approval. There will be public hearings associated with those approvals. And to my knowledge, none of my colleagues on the Board of Aldermen are river ecologists, hydraulic engineers, water chemists, river physicists, or members of the Coast Guard. So I think we should leave those questions and review to those experts in the Army Corps of Engineers, in the Department of Environmental Protection, DNR, the United States Coast Guard, the fire department, etc. While important, and I think SLDC will be an engaged partner in making sure that those questions, the answers to any questions around environmental impacts all surface. So I do appreciate the development team taking on a project of this magnitude. I really do. It was also brought up in public comment regarding the audit by the state auditor and the scrutiny of SIDS. Mr. Cook, this is a question for you. You said that you and the members of the SID would be responsible for certifying and filing all the necessary filings and the quarterly meetings, I think, that need to take place associated with the Community Improvement District. Is that correct?
That's correct. We represent a number of SIDs, so we are familiar with that.
That was my next question, is that you have experience in doing that. You and your legal team have done that for other community or special taxing districts.
Most definitely.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, Madam Chair, that sort of concludes, I think, my questions and comments, and good luck and congrats on everything so far to the development team. Appreciate that. And to you, Alderwoman Middlebrook, this is a very exciting opportunity. So look forward to further discussions and how we can help.
Thank you, Alderman Oldenburg. Next, Ms. Tracy.
Alderwoman Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to say kudos for Lisa Middlebrook for this huge undertaking. And I am elated, excited, can't wait to see the construction begin as well as the finished product. So that's all I have, is just that comment. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Alderwoman Evans. Okay, anybody else? Okay. On that note, I'll turn it back over to Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I just want to close with saying thank you to everyone for your support on this. This is really exciting, you know, for Second Ward Future 13th, for North St. Louis, a travel destination right here in our backyard, with entertainment, with restaurants that we can take our families to and sit down and have a meal that's not, you know, necessarily fast food. This is an opportunity for jobs. This is great for our city, not only the north side, but our city, but especially the north side. And it's a foot in the door. I do believe if you build, they will come. But we have to start somewhere, and we have to have the opportunity, and we are given the opportunity with this project. So I just would like to ask for your support on this bill. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, on that note, nobody else has any comments. We can call for a vote, please. Can we get a motion to?
Yeah, so we need
yeah. I'm remembering. Can we get a motion?
I move we adopt Board Bill 95 with a do pass recommendation out of the Ways and Means Committee.
Second.
Okay. All right. Can we take a vote? You want everybody to vote, or you want individual?
We'll do individual.
Okay.
I mean, we could call for previous roll. There wasn't enough of us here. I'll call for previous roll.
No,
we'll just do individual. Thank you, Alderman.
Well, when you said that, I was just saying we could.
Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderman Vaquero.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Oldenburg.
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans.
Aye.
Chair Boyd.
Aye.
We have 6 aye votes.
Okay, on that vote, Board Bill 95 has passed Ways and Means Committee. Thank you all very much. So can I get a motion to close the meeting?
So
yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, who was the first?
Thank you.